I'm Rowling Marks. Thank you for joining me for the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land, where we bring you your top stories making headlines in Israel and surrounds every Monday to Thursday. And if you are new to us, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget that if you want your news hot off the press in Israel and on a device near you, this is where you can come. But without further ado, let's get into the top stories. And we're kicking this new year off with quite a bang, with news that the Netherlands has withdrawn its funding to a Palestinian NGO because of links to terror. So what is the background story to this? Last year, Israel designated 6 Palestinian NGOs as terror organizations. Now, this drew a lot of condemnation from countries like Ireland and human rights organizations like Human Rights Watch, who said that not enough evidence was provided to explain why Israel has done this. And Human Rights Watch Director Ken Roth, no stranger to tweeting hateful messages about Israel, said that this is Israel trying to silence Palestinian civil society. Well, this news from the Netherlands is quite groundbreaking. The Foreign Minister Ben Knapen and the Foreign Trade Minister Tom de Bruyn have decided that the Netherlands will no longer be funding the Union of Agricultural Workers in Palestine because at least 34 of their workers are active in the PFLP. Now, the PFLP, which is the Palestinian Front for the Liberation of Palestine, is designated by the European Union to be a terror organization. Taking it to Twitter, the Union of Agricultural Workers said that they are shocked and saddened, and that this is an attempt by Israel to silence civil rights workers. You see what I did there between them and Ken Roth, and that they will be taking it further. But one thing is for sure, that a country like the Netherlands, which does give a significant amount of funding to these types of organizations, has made quite a groundbreaking decision. And we're sure that there will be other NGOs and their ties to terror to be exposed and made public pretty soon. In other news, Israel is hoping at the United Nations General Assembly to advance a resolution condemning Holocaust denial. Now, should this resolution go through and it is crafted by Israel, it will be the first time in 17 years that a resolution written by Israel will be expected to be passed at the United Nations General Assembly. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Gilad Erdan, says they are hoping that this resolution will be passed on the 20th of January because that day marks the 80th anniversary of the Wannsee Conference. This was the conference that put the final solution into practice and saw the Jews of Europe rounded up and sent to concentration and extermination camps, and the majority of European Jewry wiped out in the Holocaust. And also, it is if it is passed, it will be passed a week before International Holocaust Remembrance Day, which takes place every year on the 27th of January, which is different to Yom HaShoah, which is observed here in Israel and by our diaspora communities and our allies around the world. But the 27th of January is specifically International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Now, on the top of everybody's news channel around the world is the situation with Omicron, and we can report that our President Isaac Hertzog and his lovely wife Michal have received their 4th jab. Israel began rolling out a 4th shot for those over 60 and healthcare workers, as well as those who are immunocompromised. Now, as the numbers of Omicron infections at the moment in Israel are high, it is still unclear whether or not we will roll out to other age groups. However, Israel is opening the skies to non-red countries starting from this coming Sunday. So if you have been longing to get to Israel, our skies will be open to you. You might just want to check on our Ministry of Health's official website to see whether your country is orange or red or yellow. And our final story, and I can't believe I'm actually here at this point of the year. We are only 6 days into the year and already we have another great controversy, this time surrounding popular author J.K. Rowling. So what is it this time? Because unfortunately J.K. Rowling does seem to be the proverbial whipping post at the moment for progressives. So here is the story as follows. Late-night comedian and talk show host Jon Stewart is alleged to have said on a podcast several weeks ago, speaking about various issues, he said, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, look at those goblins that ran Gringotts Bank in Harry Potter, way to go J.K. Rowling for putting the Jews out there. In other words, he basically said that J.K. Rowling having goblins that look like old caricatures of Jews is inherently something that could be construed as anti-Semitic. Now again, I'm paraphrasing. However, Newsweek, the famed international publication, published an op-ed saying that Jon Stewart calls J.K. Rowling anti-Semitic. Now, of course, the pile-on by progressives who are already anti-J.K. Rowling for comments she is alleged to have said that some people construe as transphobic. I must reiterate that J.K. Rowling has said she is not transphobic. She does, however, believe in biological sex. You are either male or female. She has not said that she is anti the trans community, and that if you do identify as either, that's fine with her. But she has become a targeted person in the global social media sphere as well as amongst progressive. So many people jumped aboard the JK hate train and accused her of being anti-Semitic. Coming to JK's support was British Jewry and Jews around the world. J.K. Rowling has been an outspoken advocate of support for the Jewish community, in particular British Jews, especially at the time of gross anti-Semitism within the British Labour Party. J.K. Rowling was one of the few people who took to social media, who showed her support, who didn't back down through intimidation. And the question we must be asking ourselves is whoever it is that portrays goblins as an ancient Jewish caricature anti-Semitic, or is it those who look at Jewish people and associate them with goblins and ugly caricatures anti-Semitic? That question is out there for anyone to answer. But from my perspective, I look at people like Jon Stewart, Sarah Silverman, and a number of others who have been quick to jump on this bandwagon. And I want to ask them, where are you? Where are your voices when Jews are beaten in the streets of New York? Where are your voices when rockets rain down on us in Israel? Why is it suddenly convenient to beat up on J.K. Rowling? And on that note, I'm going to say that is it for today and for this week with the Israel Brief. But don't forget, you can check out our content on our website at www.layoftheland.online. We'll be back with a bang next week with a lot of brand new original content. It will also be on our Facebook page at Lay of the Land, or at Lottle Site rather. It's at Lottle Site. If you haven't already joined our community, please give us a like or a follow and share our content. We're on YouTube and our channel is the Israel Brief. Help us out by subscribing by clicking on the red subscribe button below. And on Twitter, we are at Lay of the Land 5. That's at Lay of the Land 5. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Rolemarks, Rolemarks. I'm quite vocal there as well. So from all of us to all of you, we wish you a peaceful, safe and healthy weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Join us on Facebook tomorrow as we bring you a surprise from somewhere in the country where we are for Shabbat. And don't forget to check in with us next Monday for your top stories from Israel.